Hi, it's Mike. Welcome to the kitchen. Let's see. So, summer is moving along really nicely, and we are heading on vacation in a couple of weeks. Got some good vacation music playing in the background, and I'm working on cleaning up the fridge a little bit. So, hopefully, you've tuned in and you've caught the roast beef recipe, the roast beef mashed potatoes, and hopefully you enjoyed that. That's a really easy recipe that I like to make. But what do you do when you get to the end? I always find myself at the very end, there's just not enough to do anything with. Not enough to run a whole nother meal, and so I came up with this really cool recipe. It's mashed potato roast beef pizza. So I got my mashed potatoes here, they're kind of warming. I got my gravy running, it'll serve as kind of like the tomato sauce for the pizza. I got my leftover roast beef that we're gonna toss on there. And if you swing over here, I get this guy here, it's about $1 at the grocery store. Unfortunately, Aldi's does not sell that yet. And then I like to use some Colby Jack and some Emos. You can also use mozzarella if you want. It doesn't really matter what kind of cheese. The way I like to make this when I'm done, it's almost like a big giant piece of garlic bread with mashed potatoes and roast beef on it. So I'm gonna let that continue to warm up. It spreads best when it's warm onto the dough. And then I'm gonna take this dough here, I'm gonna add I think they call for a quarter cup of warm water. I'm gonna stir that up and get it all into a ball. Let it sit over there and warm for a minute. It'll do a tiny bit of proofing. And then I'll be back when we start spreading that out onto this big tray here. I'm gonna have this much piece when we're done. And I'm telling you, you are gonna love it. Oven on to about 400, that's what they asked for on this pizza dough recipe. I put in half of a cup, I'm sorry, I thought it was a fourth. It's a half of a cup of warm water, not boiling, but warm. And I like to take a fork and do like that. And just kind of keep mixing around until most of it's all absorbed up, and you'll end up with a little ball there like that. From there, my hands are clean, but I'll go ahead and give them a rinse. Just get them a little moist. From there, I like to take that ball and just kind of roll them around a little bit. And once you get that ball in there really good, another trick I like to do is I'll take a cap of olive oil. Hang on, I'm reaching. Get my cap of olive oil. Take that. Just a cap, not a bunch. You don't want to overdo it. Get that on there and then kind of turn that in. And that ball, it's a little sticky today, it's kind of humid out, but that ball will get like that. There you go. That's how you want it. You want to just kind of do like that. Once you get that ball set up there, I'll just take a nice little cloth here, cover that up and let him sit over here on the back where the hot air is coming out for just a few minutes. And again, I got the oven up to about 400. I got my mashed potatoes warming up. I got my gravy warming up, you can see. And that gravy I thickened just a little bit more than normal. You don't have to. I just happen to need a little bit more to make this, so I thickened it up a little bit more to make it a little more stiff when it goes on. So that's it. Stay tuned. We'll be back over there in a minute. The dough will look like that when you're done. It doesn't really proof up a lot, but it kind of binds together when it sits over there for a few minutes. So next thing I'm gonna do, I've got my big tray here. You can make it round if you want, but this is the one I like. It makes the most pieces and everybody loves it, so I like to have a lot of it. Give it a good spray of my olive oil. I picked that up at Aldi. My flour. So I like to get that in there real good. And once I got that about like that, I'll take the rest of it and dump it into the sink. My wife loves when I do that. From there, take that dough and just drop it on there. And then I'll take a little bit of flour and kind of get it over the top just to kind of keep that from sticking to my hands. Give it a flip. A little more flour. And then the fun part starts. This is probably the worst part of making this because this stuff doesn't like to really stretch as much as I like to stretch it. But yeah, you can see I'm kind of getting a little bit of stuff on that glass. You can use a rolling pin, but usually the rolling pin's too big to kind of move around. So I find that something like this, you can use a pint glass or a glass like this. Be careful because it'll get sticky. If you see it get a little sticky, the thing I do is just take a little pinch of this and drop it in there where the sticky part is. Wipe my glass back off and just kind of keep rolling. So I'm gonna roll this out to where it's nice and good and flat. Then I'm gonna poke some holes in it and stick it in the oven for about 2 to 3 minutes. What I find with these crusts is if you don't pre-do them in the oven a little bit, you tend to get like a pizza juice thing instead of like a pizza crust. It just gets all soggy and absorbs everything and it just doesn't taste good. So again, we're gonna go away for a minute. I'm gonna roll this out. I'll show you when I get that far, and then I'll come back, put some holes in it, throw it in the oven, and show you what that looks like. Stay tuned. It's just about rolled out, and I guess a couple tips. If things start getting sticky again, I just take a little flour and kind of wipe it on there like that. By now it's got some good consistency, so you can kind of play with it. The other thing that I try and avoid is rolling back and forth like that. I usually just roll in one direction. I find that if you can roll in one direction, it'll kind of keep moving nice and smoothly. Sometimes when you roll back and forth, it tends to get sticky. It'll take that dough and start pulling it all over, and before you know it, you got a blob instead of a rectangle. So this is a really nice hunk of rectangle dough here. You can see it's all rolled out pretty evenly. From here, and you do your best. I've been doing this for years, so it's easy for me to get out to all the corners, but don't feel like you have to. Once you make it, you'll be like, yes, I want to go all the way to the corners because it's so good, you'll have more. So from there, I take this guy, put some holes, and what that does is that allows that moisture to come out. I'm going to throw it in the oven for about 3 minutes at 400. So with those holes, that the steam will come out, and it'll allow the bottom of the crust to get just crispy enough to where it's really good. If you don't get the holes in there, again, yeah, you'll be okay, but it's still gonna be a little squishy. So let's take this over to the oven here. It's gonna go in. Again, I'm at 400. I'm gonna leave it in there. I'm gonna set the timer for 3 minutes and we'll be back. So that went in for 3 minutes, and man, it's like really nice, and it looks like pizza crust now. So next I'm gonna do is take my leftover mashed potatoes, smooth them out on there. It's great because you get to use up your leftovers, and at the end, you get some really good food out of the deal. So get yourself a nice bed of mashed potatoes on there. Just keep smoothing. You can't mess this up, man. You can't put too much or too little. You saw I put in about, I don't know, a couple big giant spoons of that. That provides a really nice bed for the rest of the stuff. Just kind of keep smoothing it. Use up all them leftovers. See if I can scamper out any more here. That's all I'm gonna get out of that bad boy. So from there, we're gonna go ahead and take the gravy. You see that gravy, I thicken that up pretty good. If that gravy gets too thin, it'll kind of water your thing down, so be careful. It'll thicken up on day 2, so by the time you have it for leftovers, it's really good. Sometimes I like this even better the second day. So you can see, gravy goes on. And I'm telling you, we're using up just about every bit of the leftovers, so it's a real efficient way to make sure you're managing that food properly. You're not wasting any of that roast. And I think that particular roast, I think that was a top round that I used that time. Probably the same one I used on the video from last time. So from there, you can get creative at this point. You can throw the meat on, you can throw the cheese on. I'm gonna go ahead and put a layer of cheese on, then a layer of meat. That's easy to cooperate. And then I'll put some more cheese on top, and then we'll spice it up, and that's the fun part. And again, you can't really go wrong. By the time you're done with this, it's heavy, you'll see. When you go pick it up, you'll be like, dang, there's a lot of mass there. So there, again, this is the Provel. I won't use it all because I might want some on a salad later. Okay, so there's my first wave of cheese. From there, I'm just gonna start putting that roast beef on there. You can just sprinkle that around. Again, get creative, have fun with it. Sometimes you get like the, at the end of your roast beef party, you'll have like that ground up stuff too. That goes on just as good. That's a good way to use that up because sometimes that's not as easy to put on a sandwich or do something fun with, so it's a really easy way to use that up. Sometimes you have that in your gravy too. Those little pieces, they're really good. So you get that spread out about like that. Again, there's no magic to this. It's pretty easy. It's a good way to use up leftovers. And then you can see I got decent distribution of my roast beef there. We'll go ahead from there, and I've got the Monterey Jack. It's Colby. It's a Colby Jack blend. And then I'm just gonna take that and just start dumping it on there, man. And don't tell my doctor you watch this. Doc, if you're watching, look the other way or make it for yourself and you'll realize why this is worth cheating for. So there you go. There's that next layer of cheese. Now, we're gonna go ahead and take the parm. Parm again, pick that up at Aldi's, it's not expensive. And I like to shake that on real good. So from there, you can see, you can kind of cover up all the little holes and stuff. This stuff's not cooperating that terribly good, so we're gonna give it a good shake and make it pay attention to what I'm doing here. So cover that up real good there. And then here comes some of the tricks I like. Like I said, when I'm done, I like for this to be almost like a big chunk of garlic bread. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take a little onion powder and sprinkle a light dose of that around on it. Let's get it some onion flavor. And then we're gonna go ahead and get real generous with the garlic. Again, I like for this to be reminiscent of like a nice rich garlic bread. A little salt, as if it needs that. And pepper. Everybody likes a little salt and pepper on their roast beef, so we're gonna go ahead and give them their fair share of that. So, you're looking at it, man. Next thing that happens is this is gonna go in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's at 400. We're back, doesn't it look awesome? So, great way to use up those leftovers. Again, take my roast beef recipe, take your leftovers, drop into this. So with that, I'm just gonna cut it into squares just like you do at Imo's and heat it up. All told, it was in for about 10 minutes on speed bake and then about 10 minutes on just regular bake. So I would say if you don't have speed bake, you're probably more like a 20 to 25 minute on this. This isn't like a frozen pizza where I can tell you exactly. Everyone's a little bit different based on how much stuff you put on it. They generally take about 20 minutes to cook. So that being a good rule of thumb, if you go beyond 20 minutes, you might end up with some parts that look a little like that. I didn't pull that out and rotate it enough, so that's kind of why one end is a little bit more than the other, but still delicious. You're gonna love it. Share it with your friends, enjoy. If you make it, invite me over and I'll tell you how much I like it. Thanks for tuning in.